No more Jimmy Dore today. Jimmy Dore's not available. I'm sorry to tell you. Yes, no, Jimmy's busy. He's got a pro-Kremlin rally he's doing in D.C. So he's going to go there, and he's going to get to meet Roger Waters, and he's going to hang out with Max Blumenthal, and I think Aaron Mate is still filling in on his show because they're all going to go there and try to get America to stop giving money to Ukraine. Just like the Kathy, thank you so much for the super sticker. That's lovely. Yes, I gave an update of Chud. If you're just joining us now, I gave an update for Chud at the very beginning. She's good. I should put a graphic up that just says, Chud's okay. Chud's doing okay. She's so okay. She's going to be okay. She's okay. I got to put this in here too. So Jimmy Dore and all of his tanky friends are all going to be in D.C. pretty soon. They're coming. If they're not there already, they're doing sound check right now, and they're there to explain to the world why America should just that. Basically, their argument is Ukraine should not have been walking around at that hour in that short a skirt, and at some point, it's not. They led the Kremlin on, and that's tough. That's just what happens, and nobody should defend someone with no personal honor. That really is it. It really is. Yes, Ukraine should not have worn a short skirt is the argument of Jimmy Dore and Max Blumenthal and Roger Waters and all those folks. And by the way, for all the NATO, apparently there's also a factor where the girl wearing Ukraine wearing the short skirt should not have had a friend saying, if anything happens to you, I'll help. Because that just made it that much more exciting for their attacker. You know what I mean? Russia's so fucking macho. How do they not react to that? Anyways, love you guys. Can we just, can I start the show off since everything's been cattywampus, ewampus, no pun intended, over the last couple of days. Can we start off with a little tidbit, little side version of the show, a little something. Remember how I was telling you guys that it's going to get increasingly hard for the Republicans to hold on to that narrow majority that they have? Remember how I told you there are a few of them that are looking down the barrel of either ethics problems or legal problems that might require them to step down in a place, by the way, that was, kind of purplish, not quite hard red. Somebody gets in there by playing all, either full MAGA or like George Santos did, or relatively normal Republican, and they beat out somebody else. And, even though because they lean that way. And a Democrat could have taken the seat. Remember that? Remember when I was telling you, like, those things? Remember I'm telling you about those guys? Okay, let me introduce you to Andy, the guy with the last name that sounds like he should be a friend of Matt Gaetz. Andy Ogles. Representative Andy Ogles. Fuck, I gotta shrink this down a little bit so you guys can see it. Andy, here he is. Andy Ogles from Tennessee. Hey man, he went down there. He's from the same place I'm from, man. I'm from Kentucky. He went to school in Kentucky. We think, we don't know at this point. He's got a runner-up status in the George Santos Awards. This dude, let me tell you something. This is from the Insider, but man, these first articles about this stuff started coming out of like the Tennessee Holler paper, okay? GOP Rep Andy Ogles claimed to fight international sex crimes and be an economics expert. Like George Santos, his real resume tells another story. By the way, that's Chip Roy in the back. Chip, don't try to look at your phone and hide. You're hanging out with Andy, and Andy looks fun, man. He looks like a guy you could hang out with all fucking day long. Andy Ogles claims he's a real estate magnate, policy expert, and a sex crime investigator. Hey man, when somebody pretends to be that's like when somebody shows up at a crime scene and goes, I hear y'all found a body covered in duct tape and wrapped in plastic that you can only find at the A&P. How would I know that? I don't know. I'm just a bystander interested in what's going on here. What's all the lights about? blood on my hands. I cut myself shaving my hands. Anyways, why are you arresting me? What do you mean I fit the profile? Okay. Much of the experience on Ogles' resume is overblown or embellished, insider found. Other newly elected Republicans, notably George Santos, have also misrepresented their past. I love that. Misrepresented. Fucking made stuff up out of whole cloth. All right. During far-right Republican Andy Ogles' successful campaign for Congress last fall, he advertised himself as a successful entrepreneur, and a real estate investor, a tax policy expert, and the former leader of an international nonprofit rescuing sex trafficking victims by, luring them into hotel rooms and giving them money in $200 increments. All right. But the freshman member from Tennessee embellished many aspects of his resume, according to interviews, business and property records, tax filings, and local newspaper archives. So you're saying there's no evidence. So we're just guessing here. It just seems wonky. It's not that there's a fucking avalanche of evidence about this dickhead. George Santos. Ogles' business experience seems to be limited to owning 2 restaurants, a short-lived travel agency, and becoming licensed as an insurance agent. His real estate investments appear limited to a few adjacent parcels of land, including one he lives on in rural Tennessee, and he reported no rental income from his properties, insider found. I know what it's like to be a landlord because I stand buck naked on some of my land, parcel about 1.5 acres, and I raise my arms out and I go, I am your lord. It feels good, honestly. Yeah. And then I pay some, I'm part of an international sex crime trafficking fight squad that, anyway, some of the people we've helped, they volunteer on my land to stand out there and go, la, 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 la. They wear feathers while I yell, I am the Lord. I'm your landlord. Ogles claimed he studied economics and international relations and worked at 2 right-wing think tanks that focus on economic policy, but his educational credentials and supposed policy expertise were thrown into question this week by Nashville's News Channel 5. By the way, that's the Tennessee Holler paper, if I do say so my damn self. Can we'll just jump to them because the insider's gromming off what they did. This is fucking amazing. Okay, so here we go. Business, economist, cop, international sex crime expert, the stories of Congressman Andy Ogles. Ogles? So they go through, this is him all the time saying he's an economist. Or not all the times, but a lot of the time.
What do you want to serve on?
Well, so I'm an economist, and so I've been quite vocal about the fact that I'd like to be on one of the committees that deals with the budget or banking.
And I ran to fix the budget. I'm an economist. I worked in economics, in healthcare.
As an economist, I can tell you we are a country in crisis.
Yeah, so I'm an economist. So I had the privilege of working for Dr. Laffer.
I worked in as economist. I worked for Dr. Laffer.
As an economist, I look at the current state of China.
So just for the record, he's not an economist. I mean, he's an economist the way a lot of people who watch, a lot of economics YouTube channels can feel like they're an economist these days, but you aren't. Okay. Also that he worked for Charles Laffer, as in the Laffer curve, as in voodoo economics. That if you'll recall, most of us were introduced to the Laffer curve by in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so in his first meeting at the White House Financial Service Committee, he said, I'm an economist. His congressional bio says he obtained a degree from Middle Tennessee State University. Oh, yeah, he doesn't fuck around. Middle Tennessee State. That is, do you know how hard it is to get into Middle Tennessee State? It's actually harder to get out. I'm kidding. They're fine. Little state universities like that are fine. But don't go, oh yes. Yes. Kneel before the landlord. I have my degree from, Middle Tennessee. I got my degree from Middle Tennessee. I honestly, I think that should be their new jingle. Hey, Middle Tennessee, call me. All right. His congressional bio says he obtained a degree from there where he studied policy and economics. policy. Policy is a pretty vague word when you think. Policy about what? I don't know. The dorm policy. I studied it really hard. Like when you can come in, what lights out means, that kind of policy. That's my policy. If I see a naked man chasing after a woman with a butcher knife and a heart on, I shoot the bastard. That's my policy. All right. So yeah. Dirty Harry? Anybody? Okay. Yet the school refused to confirm Ogles' degree, citing a provision of federal law that allows students to block the release of their educational credentials. So why is this dude blocking the release? Remember the stuff about they didn't believe in Obama's records? All right, never mind. This dude gets a pass though, because he's a real go-getter. All right. I would think that if he has a block there must be something wrong, said Senator Heidi Campbell, a Nashville Democrat who lost to Ogles in a campaign in a district the Republicans redrew to help their own candidate. Back in 2002, Ogles' website claimed he had studied foreign policy and the Constitution at Western Kentucky University and Middle Tennessee State. There is no mention of economics in this old one. Western Kentucky says he was there from 1990 to 93. Ogles actually majored in English and Allied Language Arts, basically a liberal arts degree. Which is, my friend Jim Coughlin, who is unappreciated in his time. Jim, you're a genius. And one of my favorite jokes of his, and there are many, so it's difficult to choose. Jim Coughlin, you can follow him on Twitter. He used to tell us all. He goes, when I was in college, I heard voices that kept telling me to hurt myself. It didn't say, it didn't make me cut myself or anything. It said, get a liberal arts degree. And you'd think by now, a knife wound would have healed. Or by now, a knife. Listen to his version. It's much better. I'm paraphrasing. But anyways, here we go. In response to, blah, blah, blah. I've still got cat brain. Relax. In response to Channel 5's questions, Ogles released an image of a diploma for a Bachelor of Science degree from Middle Tennessee in 2007 when he was 36. Murfreesboro, man. Hey, man, Bachelor of Science. Look at that. But what we discovered next surprised the candidate Ogles defeated. Wow, oh my gosh, Campbell exclaimed. It was a resume from 2009, 2 years after he graduated from MTSU, where he listed a degree in international relations, well, because he met that French chick that one time, with minors in psychology and English. You could tell that from, I think, just his conversation skills. There it is. Yeah, that's his education journey. Vanderbilt, Owen School of Management, Dartmouth, Tuck School of Business, Middle Tennessee University, International Relations, Bachelor of Science, minors in psychology. Is that Bachelors of Science? To the evidence and attainments of others pertaining to the degree of the tape or the diploma on the 11th day. Okay, but community, but just bachelor. It doesn't say Bachelor of Science in what on there? Should it? Or am I missing it? I never went to university. Or did I? Maybe I'm embellishing my resume. Maybe I'm just trying to appear naturally smart, so I'm hiding a master's in, it turns out I'm hiding a PhD like a bastard. Klaatu Barada Nito. Thank you so much for the, you have a $7 dog too? Oh, man. Sorry. Thank you for the super chat. To appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. I keep forgetting to say these things, but bless you guys. You guys know it. The mods will tell you, subscribe, and they mean it. Give a thumbs up. Help the show. It's easy. See, you're sitting right there. Subscribe to the goddamn show. It's all right. I'm not going to come looking for it. Don't click the notification bell. Don't do it. Unless you want to. But don't do it. I'm not telling you to do it. That's up to you. But these other people are like, I would like to track when I want you to know when I'm online and ping you. So I can ping you everywhere. I'm not going to ping people. I refuse to do it. Anyways, here we go. Likewise, he detailed the same information on a form for a background check in his own writing with no mention of economics. There you go. I mean, that looks to me like somebody who doesn't have any background in economics. And then they followed up, what does it say about his claims? She's like, I'm not surprised. He's full of shit. There's the Laffer Center. He said he worked for Arthur Laffer, the supply side economics thing. And he says he once worked his LinkedIn resume. Oh, you can't spike your LinkedIn. That's like, That's the Tinder of the job market. That's not right. The executive director, that's like saying doesn't have herpes on your Tinder thing. As executive director for the Laffer Center, not as an economist. That job appears to have been an administrative position. A search of the center's website shows no economic reports authored by Ogles. Okay, so he leveraged in to be one of their, he bought himself in. Executive director, you can buy yourself in. That you buy yourself a label. Yeah, you can climb a natural ladder, or you can install artificial rungs to give yourself an extra step, and that's what that is. 2018, he was there for 1 year because it's a membership only. Dedicated to preserving and promoting the core tenets of supply side economics. Okay, claims that while working at the Laffer Center diligently, day and night, Andy became a nationally recognized expert on tax policy and healthcare, having been featured in numerous publications, including the Wall Street Journal and Investors Business Daily. But a search of those sites shows only 3 columns he wrote, in 2 cases with another person, where he was a lobbyist for the Conservative Americans for Prosperity group, which is, by the way, probably who hooked him up with the Laffer, faux diploma, whatever, the faux position. Nothing independently citing him as an expert. All 3 were published before he went to work at the Laffer Center. Right, because they were like, hey, you can buy like this. If you want to stack your resume, you can, it's like 10 grand and they'll say you're an executive director. Really? Yeah. Might be a bit more credible. Ogles, so he's former member of law enforcement also. This dickhead. During the GOP debate, the candidate prefaced one answer as a former member of law enforcement, worked in international sex crimes, specifically child trafficking. It worked. That's a Freudian slip, don't you think? Worked in international sex crimes. Yikes. Yeah. So, in another form, he claimed, my midlife crisis, I went into law enforcement. I worked in human trafficking. It worked against right? Look, we've had this before, like AIDS walk should be cure walk. We're all looking for a cure for these things, nobody's really walking for breast cancer. Nobody's, you're walking to end homelessness, not to make people homeless. It's a weird turn of phrase that caught on and shortens. It's a walk. What's it for? AIDS. We'll call it AIDS walk. I get it, but it's still weird. It sounds like you're on the side of the disease. I get it. And this is from somebody who did every AIDS walk in the country, and all but 3 of them twice. So, and those were just the little small ones. It was just a timing thing. That said, this dude keeps saying, I worked in human trafficking. I worked in international sex crimes. Certainly on, or against, if you're really, that doesn't bother anybody? Yeah, walk towards cancer. Makes no fucking sense. Right. Sentence structure. Yeah, try for it. Maybe, here's go. Interviewed on C-SPAN after he took office, Ogles spoke about human trafficking and other over the southern border, claiming, this is from firsthand experience of someone who worked in that space. I turned gray because of it, meaning his hair turned gray. This is from, so you're saying being a human trafficker is very stressful? You wouldn't recommend it to people because they would, honest to God, is this motherfucker not just digging a hole? We're going to find out he really, as a I worked in cartels. I worked for the DEA I was the guy in charge of meth. You mean fighting meth? Not so much. Using some, but yeah. Thank you for the Chud Fund, Jess. Love you guys. Appreciate it. Again, on the night of the State of the Union, he told C-SPAN, part of my career I worked in human trafficking. What the fuck is with this guy? There's his oath of office. He was sworn in as a volunteer reserve deputy with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office in July 2009. Again, this is one of those things where you can... Steven Seagal did the same fucking thing for a show. You can, in the South, If you know anybody and you're weekend warrior type, you can sign up to get deputized. They'll never call you up. But it's like getting the cred of being in the Army Reserves without all the work. Now some people who get deputized take it very fucking seriously, and they do work and they do rotate through and that kind of stuff. But a bunch of people, I'm telling you, throughout the South use that as like the Herschel Walker badges. That's exactly the same shit as Herschel Walker. They gave me this badge and now I run the place. I'm International Man of Mystery badge. Records show he lost that position 2 years later for not meeting minimum standards, making no progress in field training, and failure to attend required meetings. Right. Because he wasn't serious about it, he just did it for the fucking badge. Then, Reserve Deputy Commissioner, there he goes, that's his revocation. There's nothing in Mr. Ogles' training or personnel file that indicates he had any involvement in international sex trafficking in his capacity as a reserve deputy. On his own, as a hobby, though, Ogles did some work in 2011 for Abolish International, a nonprofit founded by gospel artist Natalie Grant. His congressional website claims Ogles, a chief operating officer, was responsible for overseeing operations and investments in 12 countries. She would send him down there to check out just how bad the sex trafficking was up close. This dude's creeping me out. Yeah. I began working volunteering my time. I ended up becoming a chief operating officer. I was just one of those. I really didn't intend to set out to be so heavily involved in the fight against human trafficking. It just kind of occurred. Privately, people associated with the group dispute Ogles' characterization of his role, although they were reluctant to get into a war of words with a member of Congress. In fact, the group's tax returns show Ogles held a part-time position that paid him a grand total of $4,000. Archived version of them shows it was making grants to holistic ministries in a handful of countries, not 12 countries, and certainly not busting international sex rings or rescuing human trafficking victims. That's their website. Yeah, so, and they're talking to his opponent. Anyways, fucking busted. Andy Ogles, welcome to This Is Your Lies, hosted by George Santos. At some point, they've got to just have like a fraud caucus in the GOP House.